I built this golf hitting mat for less than $300, and it performs just like the high-end hitting mats. This thing is durable, portable, and just feels great to hit off of. I've been in the business of trying to create a golf simulator on a budget. I wanted a hitting mat like you see at those fancy golf simulator shops, one that felt great, but a good hitting mat will run you $700 and up. So I set out to build my own for cheaper. Feel free to stick around, even steal my design, or just take inspiration from it. I'm gonna walk you through the process and show you what I did, and I'll also share my 2 regrets. I had 3 key parameters to keep in mind while I was designing this mat. The first being the hitting strip needs to be replaceable. This is super important, and we'll dive into this in just one moment. Because my simulator is in the backyard, outdoors, I need it to be portable. And finally, I need to save that money. Keeping the 3 goals in mind, let's start sketching out the design. The mat is going to be a rectangle that only supports hitting from one side. This means a right and left-hander couldn't use the mat at the same time without manually flipping it around. Now here on the right side, we're going to add a hole for the hitting strip. This will allow for the hitting strip to be replaceable. As I'm looking at this design, I'm thinking this mat is going to be big and heavy and clunky. How can we make this thing more portable? So I thought, what if we cut it in half? That way we can carry each piece one at a time and it'll weigh a lot less. I didn't want to do a straight cut down the middle just because I thought that would separate as I'm swinging. So I made kind of a puzzle piece cut, that way the board's stuck together. I also put the seam a little bit further to the right because I didn't want it where I was standing. I was afraid if I was standing on it, I'd be able to feel it and it might kind of cave in a little bit or feel a little bit flimsy. The dimensions of the mat are going to be 5.5 feet wide by 4 feet tall. I probably would have been okay going just 5 feet wide, but I'm a tall dude, so I added that extra half foot. At this point, I started thinking about what materials I wanted to use. But first I needed to know what the depth of my mat was going to be. How high off the ground is it going to stand? And that's determined by your hitting strip. If you didn't know already, this is the hitting strip. The hitting strip is the most important part of your entire mat because this is what you're actually hitting off of. Now, the reason you want a hitting strip is because these things are high quality, they're meant to feel like real grass, and they become really expensive. So if your whole mat was made to hit off of, the price would go way up. Instead, they just build a hitting strip that you can insert right into your hitting mat. Boom. Now if that thing gets worn out, you can just replace the hitting strip rather than the entire mat, and that'll save you a lot of money. So if you're building a golf mat, I'd recommend going cheap on the entire mat, but then spending a lot of money on your hitting strip because that's what's important. That's what's gonna make the difference. I spent $230 on this, and if you do the math, that means the rest of my mat was under $70. I was willing to spend a little extra money because I wanted a high quality hitting strip. So this is the divot strip from Carl's Place. They have cheaper options. There's one for 80 bucks, and I've heard good things about it, but I opted to go for the more expensive one. Now, if I did purchase the $80 one, this whole mat would have been less than $150 to build, and that's dang good. If you have any questions about hitting strips, leave a comment. I've done a lot of research and I went through a lot of designs before I settled on this one. So I'll try to answer your questions. The hitting strip I chose is 1.75 inches tall. Okay, that means the rest of our material surrounding the hitting strip also needs to add up to 1.75 inches. I went through a lot of designs on this, and this is what I ended up with. As the base layer, we've got a 3/4 inch OSB plywood. The main reason I went with OSB over your standard plywood is I actually found the OSB to be much flatter, and as an added bonus, it was cheaper. As the second layer, I picked up some of those gym foam tiles that are a 1/2 inch tall. And for the top layer, I hit up trusty Facebook Marketplace and found someone selling some spare putting turf. Luckily, I live in Arizona, so there's a lot of people selling this stuff. We've got our design, we've got our materials. Let's add up the entire cost. plan. We need to get it to match this level. So we're gonna get 3/4 inches of OSB plywood. We're gonna get a 1/2 inch of our gym mat flooring, the foam, a piece of putting turf that's about 1/4 inch. I'm not exactly sure the height, but look at that. That matches up nicely. I wish I had taken more videos and pictures of the process of actually building the mat, but at the time, I wasn't really planning on becoming a YouTuber. But hey, here we are. So bear with me as we sit through this awesome little animation I made. So here lies my 4x8 piece of plywood. I've measured it off to where I'm cutting off 2.5 feet. I used a 7-inch circle saw to cut off the excess. I prepped the cutout for the hitting strip by drilling holes in each 4 corners. These holes are important because it allows you to slip the jigsaw blade through the hole and actually start cutting the cutout. I then used the jigsaw to cut the cutout. You could probably use a circle saw too, but jigsaws are a little bit better in tight spaces, so that's what I went with. I chose a jigsaw for doing the puzzle cut as well. Just thought it'd be easier. After going through all that, this is what it should look like. I made a last-minute decision to drill a bunch of holes in the bottom of the board. The idea behind this was to take out a couple more pounds. I used Gorilla Glue to glue the foam down to the board and then put some weights on it and let that sit for a couple hours to cure. Same thing with the turf, and when that was all done, I used a utility knife to cut off the excess all around the edges. So the mat is all glued down, and the last thing I did was put in some screws just to make sure that the glue wouldn't peel back. I put in a screw here, and then I put one in right here and right here, and then also right here next on each side of the puzzle piece. The screws are not visible and you can't feel them either, so it's a win-win. There's a screw right here, but you'd never know it. So, set it down, just wiggle it right into place, snap together the foam. So I just roll this up, put the hitting strip in, boom, we're good to go. So here's my main regret. Or maybe downside's a better word for it. I'm gonna put a red line here to mark where the hitting mat starts, and then I'm gonna take 20 swings. You can see as I'm swinging, the mat moves a little bit, and after 20 swings, it's moved about 2 or 3 inches. Then I have to come down here and do this little shimmy thing to get it back into place. At first this bugged me, but honestly I've gotten used to it now and it doesn't really bother me anymore. One small regret I have was putting the seam right here. My original thinking was I didn't want the seam where I was standing because since this platform is on turf, I thought there'd be a chance that it kind of caves in a little bit. But what I've found is I don't even feel it at all. It feels just like the rest of the board. I wish I would have put the seam down the middle just so the weight between the two was spread more evenly and a little bit more portable. Another option I considered was actually cutting the turf at the seam and the foam as well. I didn't love that idea just because I thought aesthetically it wouldn't look that great. I wanted this thing to look good and look like one solid piece. And I think it turned out really good. Overall, guys, I actually really like this design. I don't have really any complaints other than the fact that it moves a little bit. I use it all the time. It's already seen probably over 1,000 hits of golf balls. I love it. I recommend it to you guys. Build your own. It's really not that difficult. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And if you like this content, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I've got a lot more coming down the pipeline. I'm gonna take you through my whole simulator setup, including how my backyard goes from this to this in just under 10 minutes. Spoiler alert, it's all about the turf plugs. With that, we'll see you guys next time.